A new virtual reality game, Night Defense, offers a massive reward for conquering its Hell Dream mode. The prize is a staggering 10 billion won, enough to change anyone's life. For one young man, this money represents more than just wealth. Despite being surrounded by books, he feels utterly trapped by his circumstances. He believes winning the game is his only chance to finally escape. Meanwhile, the news celebrates the political success of the seemingly perfect assemblyman, Him Uesu. The media spotlight quickly shifts to his son, praising him as a top student. This son, Him Ji-hoon, is publicly hailed as a perfect heir to his father's reputation. His story and photo become a trending topic viewed by many on their phones. At school, however, Ji-hoon is visibly overwhelmed by the unwanted attention from his classmates. A popular female classmate pulls Ji-hoon aside, suggesting they have a private conversation. Other students watch with envy as the two model students leave the classroom together, but their private chat takes a sharp turn into a secluded, grimy back alley. The friendly girl is suddenly with a group of delinquents demanding something from him. A worried Ji-hoon reminds her he already lent her a significant amount of money just last week. One of the bullies grabs him, threatening to expose him for creating an illegal website. The bully then points out that his girlfriend is also an accomplice for using the site. He mockingly suggests they all just turned themselves into the police together. Ji-hoon's face drains of color as he realizes who truly has the most to lose from the scandal. The answer flashes across the screen, his incorruptible father's perfect political career. The girl leans in close, her sweet words a thinly veiled threat. She lays the guilt on thick, claiming he's her only hope. Later that night, a defeated Ji-hoon stands tensely before his father's study. With a trembling hand, he reaches for the doorknob, dreading the confrontation. He enters the room, his frustration boiling over into silent fury. But his anger instantly turns to fear upon seeing who's inside. His father, Assemblyman Him, looms over him with a cold, disappointed stare. The politician coldly reminds him that the election is just around the corner. He strictly warns his son not to do anything that might damage his pristine honor. As Ji-hoon stands frozen, his father grabs his collar demanding an answer. Ji-hoon's hand clenches into a fist, a silent show of defiance. He forces a bright smile, promising his father he won't be a disappointment. The assemblyman scoffs, wondering if it's even possible to be more disappointed in his son. He coldly dictates that Ji-hoon's only purpose is to follow his orders without question. A stark declaration appears. This controlled existence is now his entire life. Later, Ji-hoon slumps over his desk, crushed by the overwhelming pressure. His face twists in agony as he silently screams at his cruel fate. Suddenly, gentle touch on his hand breaks him from his despair. He recoils in shock, completely startled by the unexpected sensation. The culprit is a small cat, which looks up at him with an innocent meow. He softens, asking the small cat if it was worried for him. The cat playfully pounces, and for a moment, his despair is replaced by laughter as he squirms. Holding the little rascal, he's hit with a wave of loneliness, realizing he has no allies. He clutches the cat, his only friend in a world that has turned against him. The story shifts back to the first young man who stares intently at the Night Defense game on his monitor. His eyes gleam with focus, having finally conquered 99 waves with only one remaining. But just as victory is within his grasp, a glaring red screen announces his defeat. The words "Game Over" flash repeatedly, mocking his failure at the final hurdle. He stares at the screen in utter disbelief, unable to comprehend what just went wrong. Frantically checking his phone, he realizes after hundreds of attempts that the game seems designed to be unbeatable. A popular streamer explodes in frustration, mirroring the outrage of the entire player community. Back in his room, Ji stares at the same game, his face a mask of cold fury. The game has been out for a year, countless players have successfully cleared 99 waves. Yet despite their efforts, not a single person has ever conquered the final 100th wave. But Ji-hoon, with his cat Ruru watching, refuses to accept defeat. He sees this impossible game as the only path to freedom for himself and his furry friend. His hope lies in a legendary S-rank item, Rizzledrake's Heart, now fully enhanced to its maximum potential. Even equipped with this peerless item, the 100th wave remained an insurmountable wall. Surrounded by snacks from his long gaming session, he's completely stumped on how to proceed. Suddenly, his cat's paw playfully taps the screen, landing directly on the legendary item. Ji-hoon's eyes widen in horror as he realizes what his cat is about to do. Ruru's paw lands directly on the dismantle button for his most precious item. A surge of pure panic flashes across his face, but it's already too late. The screen confirms his worst fears. His legendary S-rank item has been successfully dismantled. He lets out a silent scream of agony, watching his hard work vanish because of a curious cat. All his efforts are reduced to a mere 1,000 enhancement fragments, rendering his progress meaningless. Crushed, he realizes this catastrophic mistake means he has to start his quest for freedom from scratch. He spirals into despair, questioning if he can ever escape his fate even with a second chance. But amidst the fragments, a completely unexpected item appears, the legendary Dragon Soul. His despair turns to confusion, knowing that dismantling an item should never produce such a rare reward. He stares at the Dragon Soul, an item that shouldn't exist from a simple dismantle. A shocking realization dawns on him, connecting the impossible item to the unbeatable wave. Before he can even process it, the mysterious Dragon Soul is automatically consumed by the game. His shock morphs into a flash of brilliant insight as the solution finally clicks into place. A message confirms his theory. He's just discovered the secret to conquering the 100th wave. With renewed hope, his finger hovers over the button to start the entire challenge over again. The story jumps forward, showing Ji-hoon back in the mundane reality of his high school classroom. He sits through the lecture, but his mind is clearly far away, plotting his next move in the game. Back in his room, he dedicates every spare moment to his goal with his cat perched on his head. Even while walking through the city, his eyes are glued to his phone, completely absorbed in his quest. After countless hours of grinding, Ji-hoon is back at his desk ready for the final challenge. Once more, the screen flashes with his success, having cleared all 99 waves. He recalls the secret he discovered, sacrificing his best item to obtain the hidden Dragon Soul. His expression is one of intense concentration, confident that his new strategy will work. With his new knowledge, he presses start, initiating the legendary 100th wave. The final battle commences, pitting his lone knight against a colossal boss and its undead legion. Tapping furiously, he pours all his focus into his character's movements, praying his plan works. A brilliant flash of energy engulfs the screen as his knight unleashes a devastating attack. The screen shakes from the impact, signaling the climax of the impossibly difficult wave. His eyes burn with fierce resolve, utterly convinced he will finally conquer the game. The word victory blazes across the screen. He has finally done the impossible. He leaps to his feet in pure elation, his triumphant shout echoing in the silent room. But his celebration is cut short by his father, who stands menacingly in the doorway with a golf club. Ji-hoon's joy instantly vanishes as his father reveals he received a call from the blackmailers. The assemblyman explains they tried to extort him, using Ji-hoon's mistake as leverage. His father's voice drops, reminding his son of the one rule: never tarnish the family honor. Terrified, Ji-hoon shrinks back, desperately apologizing as his father advances on him. From outside, their silhouettes tell a grim story as the father raises his club against his cowering son. With terrifying speed, the assemblyman swings the club down in a furious punishing arc. Ji-hoon's world shatters, his eye reflecting the terror of the brutal unforgiving impact. His phone lies shattered on the desk, a stark reminder of his weakness and inability to defy his father. A tear falls from his eye as a shocking realization dawns on him, sparking a new kind of defiance. Later, he approaches his father, his voice trembling as he asks about his missing cat, Ruru. The assemblyman coldly dismisses his concern, stating that Ji-hoon no longer needs such a pet. Ji-hoon grits his teeth, barely containing the surge of rage at his father's callousness. Noticing the look of rebellion, his father menacingly questions his son's defiant expression. Panic and fury overwhelm him as he desperately demands to know where Ruru is. His father pauses, drawing out his cruel answer with a sinister calm. He then delivers the final blow, telling Ji-hoon the cat is now with his deceased mother. Ji-hoon's expression shatters into one of pure unadulterated horror at the monstrous confession. His father's cruel words from the past echo in his mind, promising rewards for absolute obedience. He recalls the chilling warning to never be a disappointment again. The memory of his father's cold, emotionless voice fills him with dread. A twisted declaration of belief was just another tool for control. Back in the present, Ji-hoon's despair finally ignites into pure, unyielding hatred. Staring at the discarded golf club, he realizes he can't take this life anymore. In his moment of utter defeat, a system message declares him the first ever conqueror of night defense. The victory feels meaningless as he collapses, convinced he has nothing left to live for, but his shattered phone suddenly glows, displaying a mysterious invitation. An impossible surge of energy erupts outside his window, beckoning him to another world. A pillar of light descends from the heavens, striking a grand castle in a new unfamiliar world. Inside, Ji-hoon materializes before stunned guards, hailed as the one who will save them all. He finds himself kneeling in a grand hall surrounded by knights who recognize him as their legendary hero. The common folk erupt in cheers, their faces filled with desperate hope for the savior who has finally arrived. But Ji-hoon feels nothing, a strange emptiness where his tears and despair should be. He realizes with chilling clarity that his emotions have been completely wiped clean. An imposing bearded figure in royal attire clears his throat, demanding his attention. The king on the throne formally asks if he is the prophesied knight destined to save their kingdom. Ji-hoon stares at the king, a flicker of recognition crossing his unnervingly calm face. He instantly recalls the pixelated king from the game, realizing he's been pulled into the world of night defense. The imposing monarch introduces himself as Baelish Georgia III, ruler of the Georgia kingdom. He explains that his kingdom is on the brink of collapse, besieged by monsters from all sides. Just then a messenger bursts in, confirming the dire situation with panicked urgency. Jihoon calmly processes the kingdom's setting and its current crisis, his face a blank slate. The messenger frantically whispers the latest bad news directly into the king's ear. He recognizes this entire scene, realizing it's a perfect recreation of the game's opening sequence. The king cuts the briefing short, declaring the situation too urgent for lengthy explanations. A game-like window materializes, offering him the title of Knight Commander and demanding he choose a side. Unsure if this is reality or a dream, he prepares to make his one and only demand. With a flicker of his former self, he names his price to save their world, a cool 1,000,000,001. A montage of memories with Ruru flashes through his mind, a stark reminder of what is lost. The court whispers in disbelief, questioning his strange demand and unimpressive appearance. The king brushes aside the specific sum, promising to grant any wish if he accepts the role of protector. Jihoon's expression remains stoic as he processes the king's boundless promise. His eyes widen slightly, the king's promise of anything igniting a flicker of emotion within him. The king's commanding tone is eerily familiar, demanding simple obedience. The king's demand for obedience shatters his calm, triggering a vivid traumatic memory. He's thrown back to a memory of his father's menacing eyes, promising rewards for submission. The memory intensifies, recalling his father's suffocating grip and hollow promises of granting his desires. A tear escapes his eye, the king's words reopening a wound he thought was left behind. The king's face merges with his father's, their manipulative promises of belief becoming one and the same. Jihoon explodes in a fit of rage, flatly refusing to be a pawn any longer. The king watches this unexpected defiance, his expression hardening. He realizes that everywhere he goes, people only see him for his title and what they can gain. Memories of his classmates and their betrayal flash through his mind. He sees his father's controlling smile, understanding that even his own family used him for their ambitions. He questions if this new world is just another cage, demanding he become a slave to a title. The entire court gasps in shock, completely bewildered by their supposed savior's sudden outburst. He scoffs at the very idea of wealth and fame, things that have only ever brought him misery. Staring down the king, he internally declares that he has no need for such empty rewards. With a look of pure contempt, he condemns them all and prepares to reject their offer. His finger decisively presses the decline button, sealing the kingdom's fate. The king and his advisor can only stare in disbelief, unable to comprehend their savior's refusal. As the system window shatters, his eyes reflect the cold finality of his decision. The game's narrative shifts, showing the kingdom being overrun by hordes of monsters. Without its hero, the kingdom's forces are shown to have fallen, failing their mission. The throne room lies in ruins, signaling the end of the kingdom, but a new possibility emerges. A system message confirms his shocking choice. He has officially rejected the human faction. Immediately, another message appears, giving him the unexpected power to choose a new side. A hidden route is unlocked, offering him the chance to join the monster faction and start a new game. He processes the hidden route option, understanding what a monster faction truly means. He concludes that this new path isn't about defense at all. The game's objective flips entirely. It's now about leading an invasion. The king glares down, reminding him that every choice carries a heavy price. Turning to his subjects, the king commands their full attention with a furious shout. The monarch's face twists in rage as he officially revokes Jihoon's legendary status. He declares Jihoon an enemy of the crown, a traitor who has endangered the entire kingdom. As the king summons his knights to action, Jihoon's focus remains on the glowing red window, offering him a new beginning. Following the king's deadly order, a wave of armored knights descends upon him with lethal intent. Facing the onslaught, he quietly resolves that his time for enduring is finally over. He stands unfazed as the royal knights close in, their weapons ready to strike. With a menacing red glow in his eyes, he meets their murderous intent head-on. He grits his teeth, finally done holding back the rage he suppressed for so long. A violent burst of energy erupts from him, sending the attacking knights flying in disarray. The king can only watch in stunned disbelief as his authority is so easily shattered. A system window confirms his choice is complete, transforming him into a creature of shadow and flame. New powers flood his being, granting him abilities that far surpass any human. The system then reveals the ultimate objective tied to his new allegiance. His mission is simple and brutal, the complete and utter destruction of the human faction. Overlooking the kingdom, he declares that the time for defense is over. Now it's his turn to attack. A system window announces the first wave is about to begin, revealing his new army of monsters. A 10-minute countdown starts ticking down to the moment his invasion will be unleashed. The game then lays out the ultimate objective for his new allegiance to the monster faction. With a new fire in his eyes, he learns his mission is the complete destruction of the human world. But with this dark path comes an equally compelling reward for seeing it through to the end. The prize is the power to take any single item from this game world back with him. He realizes this means he can return to his original world, but not empty-handed. A memory of his mother bringing Ruru home floods his mind, reminding him of a happier time. A new powerful resolve forms. He understands he might be able to go back and fix everything. Surrounded by knights, he now has a reason to fight, empowered by the hope of changing his past. The royal knights reel back in shock, questioning the source of the ominous energy that just erupted from him. From his throne, the king struggles to comprehend the power he just witnessed, wondering if monster is even the right word. His new form is a terrifying silhouette of shadow and flame radiating an energy completely alien to this world. He calmly assesses the situation, noting that while choosing a faction is new, the game's core mechanics might still apply. Just as he predicted, a main quest window appears giving him his first objective: crush the human defenses. Despite the new objective, he recognizes the familiar game progression, his expression remaining cool and calculated. Knowing the game's flow, he anticipates the next reward, a summon for a powerful S-rank ally. But instead of a knight, a mysterious dark egg materializes before him, catching him completely off guard. A system window clarifies the twist. His allegiance to the monsters has changed his starting reward to a powerful monster egg. Without hesitation, he accepts the offer, ready to see what new ally awaits him. A brilliant flash of light erupts from the egg, blasting the surrounding knights away. From the smoke, a massive shadowy figure begins to take shape, its presence chilling the air. The royal knights stare in utter horror, realizing a powerful entity has been summoned into their midst. Jihoon's eyes widen with recognition, shocked that the game would grant him such a legendary monster from the start. The system confirms his suspicion. This is the fearsome dragon boss from the 99th wave. The legendary cold-blooded dragon, Rizeldrak, is revealed in all its terrifying glory. He understands that summoning this beast here means the instant annihilation of the entire human faction. But instead of a fearsome dragon, a tiny bat-winged creature bursts from the egg with a cheerful cry. Jihoon stares in disbelief, realizing he summoned Rizeldrak as a level 1 baby. The newly hatched dragon looks up at him with wide, innocent eyes, completely unaware of its own legendary potential. The tiny dragon playfully licks his hand, a surprisingly gentle gesture from a legendary beast. Stunned, Jihoon sees an uncanny resemblance to his lust-cat Ruru. A system window pops up granting him the powerful ability Eye of the Overlord. He quickly learns this new passive skill allows him to analyze any monster or item. The royal knights regain their courage, dismissing the tiny creature as a pathetic summon. Believing him to be defenseless, the knights charge forward ready to strike him down. Jihoon's resolve hardens, deciding that whether this is a dream or reality no longer matters. His eyes glow with a sinister purple light as he designates his first target. He activates his new skill, realizing his only hope lies in the power of his tiny companion. The analysis reveals the baby dragon's first skill, a level 1 dragon breath, his one shot at survival. With a desperate shout, Jihoon commands his tiny companion to attack. The royal knights swarm him, their captain raising a halberd for the final blow. He puts all his faith into his only available skill, the legendary dragon breath. The baby dragon gathers a small but potent ball of dark energy in its mouth. A knight's confident charge turns to terror as is engulfed by the sudden blast. From his throne, the king's eye widens in disbelief at the unexpected power. A devastating beam of red energy erupts, tearing through the armored knights with ease. The blast rips through the castle wall, continuing its destructive path toward the city. Terrified citizens can only watch as a massive chunk of the castle falls from the sky. Jihoon stands with his companion in the gaping hole, surveying the chaos is just unleashed. Jihoon stares in wide-eyed shock, just beginning to process the sheer power he now commands. The king's advisor reels back, horrified that the palace wall was shattered with a single attack. Terrified courtiers label him a demon, unable to comprehend the creature he's just summoned. A sinister smile crosses his face as he realizes conquering this world might be easier than he imagined. The system reminds him of the ultimate prize, returning home with any item he chooses. He considers the countless legendary items in this world, confident he can find one to fix his past. Looking back on his miserable life, he decides there's no reason to hurry back just yet. With his tiny dragon growling on his shoulder, he resolves to focus solely on the mission at hand. The enraged king calls out from his throne, addressing the one who was supposed to be their savior. His face contorted with fury, the monarch prepares to deliver a grave proclamation. With his dragon companion growling, he vows to bring their destruction to claim his ultimate reward. Far below, the city carries on, unaware of the chaos erupting from the royal palace. A blonde female knight senses the disturbance, her face etched with concern for the palace. She grits her teeth, desperately hoping she can make it back in time. The knight sprints through the halls, her urgent cries echoing as she rushes to the king's side. Back in the throne room, Jihoon calmly asks his tiny dragon to prepare another devastating attack. The king's advisor panics, ordering the remaining guards to form a multi-layered shield wall. Ji-hoon scoffs at their futile effort, knowing their shields can't stop a blast that tore through solid stone. Wreathed in dark energy, he points a finger, locking onto his one and only target. His objective is clear, the king who sits on his throne bracing for the inevitable. Just as is about to strike, a powerful knight bursts through the doors announcing his arrival. The knight rallies the remaining guards who maintain their shield wall to protect the throne. Ji-hoon's expression hardens, deciding to unleash the same devastating power once more. He commands his tiny dragon to fire, and its eyes glow with a sinister dark energy. But instead of a blast, the dragon lets out a pathetic puff of smoke, its power seemingly spent. The newly arrived knight sighs in relief, believing the king is finally safe from the threat. The king's advisor is baffled by the sudden halt, unable to understand why the attack failed. Ji-hoon notices the dark circles under his companion's eyes, realizing a crucial game mechanic. A system window confirms his theory. The powerful dragon breath skill has completely drained the dragon's MP. Undeterred, he reasons that if special skills are out, a simple basic attack might just be enough. He commands another attack, but his tiny companion can only manage a wisp of smoke. Ji-hoon grits his teeth, realizing he has no choice but to wait for the skill's cooldown. A towering armored figure steps forward, calling him out for threatening the king. He turns to face the new challenger, his expression hardening with concern. The game's ranking system flashes on screen, detailing the power levels from apprentice to elite knight. This new warrior is identified as one of the 12 legendary S-rank Zodiac Knights. The knight's name is revealed as a powerful warrior with a determined glare. Az stands as the kingdom's strongest protector, immediately checking on the king's safety. Ji-hoon's face pales as he understands the gravity of facing such a powerful opponent. With the battle lines drawn, the king gives the final order to eliminate the palace invader. Az accepts the command, his fiery staff blazing as he prepares for battle. Ji-hoon panics, realizing he's facing an S-rank knight with no way to fight back. His eyes widen in horror as he recognizes Az, one of the legendary 12 Zodiac Knights. The knight raises his staff, preparing to unleash a devastating area of effect skill. He slams his weapon down, unleashing a cataclysmic wave of fire across the throne room. A massive flame wall erupts, trapping Ji-hoon and his companion in a blazing inferno, but Ji-hoon's shock turns to confusion as he watches the attack unfold. The fiery blast isn't aimed at him but instead shoots out of the castle, causing even more destruction. The royal knights are caught in the blaze, their own bodies engulfed by the friendly fire. They cry out in confusion, realizing their strongest protector's attack is completely indiscriminate. Ji-hoon sits stunned amidst the inferno as the surviving knights cry out in agony. He realizes the flame wall skill is a straight-line attack aimed directly from the caster to the target. Knowing he was the primary target, he barely managed to dive out of the fiery path. He looks at the fallen guards, understanding their protector has zero regard for his own allies. Ji-hoon grits his teeth, disgusted by the knight's reckless display of power. Az scoffs at his agility, unimpressed that he managed to evade the attack. The Zodiac Knight's eyes glow with menace, promising his next attack will be a direct hit. But Ji-hoon knows the knight's most powerful skill is now on cooldown, giving him a brief opening. A flicker of hope is quickly extinguished as he realizes he's still completely outmatched. Az leaps forward, sword ablaze, warning him that struggling will only worsen the inevitable. Desperate for a way out, Ji-hoon frantically searches for a solution. He refuses to accept defeat after coming so far, standing his ground against the charging knight. Suddenly, a system window offers him a lifeline, an unclaimed main quest reward. He realizes it's a random item box, a last-ditch chance to turn the tables. Without a moment's hesitation, he desperately accepts the unexpected reward. He slams his fist onto the accept button, claiming his prize with explosive force. A mysterious chest materializes before him, causing the attacking knight to mistake it for a summoning spell. A brilliant golden light erupts from the chest, his eyes widening in surprise. From the light emerges a colossal ornate sword, its power radiating from the open box. He immediately activates his Eye of the Overlord skill to analyze the legendary weapon. The analysis reveals the weapon's name, Hellbringer, an S-rank sword destined to bring chaos. He can't believe his luck, questioning if he really just received an S-class item. Ji-hoon is stunned, realizing he pulled an S-rank weapon from his very first random box. He understands that a weapon with this much power has only one terrifying purpose. The sword slams into the ground, confirming its mission is the total annihilation of the human faction. But the legendary weapon suddenly cracks the floor, releasing an unstable energy. His confidence turns to sheer panic as he realizes the sword is dangerously unstable. The ground beneath him erupts in a massive uncontrolled explosion. Ji-hoon is thrown backward, completely caught off guard by the weapon's betrayal. He plummets from the castle, his victory instantly turning into a terrifying fall. He fumes, wondering what kind of shoddy palace can't even handle the weight of a single sword. His frustration turns to panic, realizing he's in trouble before he's even done anything. As he plummets from the sky, he refuses to accept such an anticlimactic end. He instinctively covers his head, bracing for a fatal impact with the ground below. But his fall abruptly stops, leaving him hovering in midair, completely bewildered. Looking down, he sees he was saved just moments before crashing into a courtyard fountain. The source of his rescue is revealed, the tiny bat-like wings of his companion. His baby dragon struggles to keep him aloft, finally proving its legendary lineage. Down below, the citizens of the capital can only point and stare at the flying man. After a rough landing, he grimaces, annoyed at being dropped right in the middle of enemy territory. He realizes that this chaotic encounter has given him crucial information. He now understands the vast power gap between himself and the entire kingdom. Knowing more S-rank knights will appear, he concludes that he must build his own strength. For now, his top priority is a strategic retreat from the capital. Back in the throne room, Az trembles with shame, his honor as an elite knight shattered by this failure. He seethes with self-loathing, calling himself a pathetic fool unworthy of the king's favor. A courtier tries to get his attention as the Zodiac Knight spirals into despair over his incompetence. The knight finally snaps out of it, his eyes widening as he hears the king summoning him. Az rushes to the throne, prostrating himself and begging for punishment for letting the enemy escape. The king calmly silences him, then ominously reminds Az that the sun is setting, hinting at a hidden meaning. The king explains that as night falls, the monsters only grow stronger. He puts us in command of the war, ordering him to the walls to protect the kingdom. The monarch's expression is grim, understanding the gravity of the coming battle. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon and his companion make their escape, silhouetted against the setting sun. He recalls the original game's infamous difficulty, particularly its unbalanced first wave. The initial wave of wild goblins was a notorious progress killer for most players. Without a powerful area of effect knight, this first challenge was nearly impossible to overcome. He realizes that with the S-rank knight as defending, the walls will easily hold against the first attack. Ji-hoon considers himself lucky, knowing an assassin-type knight would have finished him off instantly. His strategic thoughts are interrupted as he realizes his tiny dragon is losing altitude over the city. He desperately encourages his exhausted companion, knowing they are just moments away from escaping the capital. But their flight falters, sending them plummeting straight toward the outer city walls. His face contorts in panic as he realizes they are about to make a very hard landing. With no time to react, they hurtle directly towards a solid stone tower. They slam into the side of the building, crashing into a dusty alleyway below. He gets to his feet, surprised that he is completely unharmed after such a brutal impact. Examining his hands, he realizes his body has been enhanced, far stronger than any normal human's. As he puts on a pair of discarded boots, a voice from the shadows questions his identity. His eyes widen in disbelief, shocked to find another powerful presence here. A formidable blonde knight appears, revealing herself to be yet another S-rank protector of the kingdom. The system identifies the new challenger as Lib, an S-rank holy knight. Ji-hoon recalls how she was the secret to conquering the unbeatable 100th wave. In the game, she was an overlooked S-rank knight, considered useless for defense and relegated to farming. He remembers that sacrificing her was the only way to obtain the dragon's soul and achieve victory. Back in the present, the formidable knight draws her sword, demanding he reveal his identity. But Ji-hoon was the only one who ever understood her true hidden potential. He calmly addresses her by name, surprising the knight who has never met him before. He remembers the countless failures it took to finally understand her real worth. She questions his cryptic words, unaware that she was once the cornerstone of his entire strategy. But with his allegiance changed, he now sees his former key to victory as just another obstacle to destroy. Her eyes narrow with resolve. She decides he must be eliminated immediately. Elsewhere, under a darkening sky, the first wave of the invasion begins to stir. A vicious goblin with glowing red eyes snarls, leading the charge against the kingdom. On the castle walls, terrified soldiers spot the approaching horde, their faces pale with fear. A massive swarm of goblins crashes against the outer defenses, beginning their assault. The kingdom's archers retaliate, raining down arrows on the chaotic battlefield below. Desperate defenders hurl stones to stop the monsters from scaling the massive stone walls. The sheer scale of the invasion is revealed as the city's fortifications are completely overrun. A panicked soldier questions their chances of survival, desperately calling for their commander. His comrade reassures him with renewed hope, announcing that the legendary Lord Az is on his way. In a ruined alley, the holy knight Lib confronts Ji-hoon, demanding to know his identity. Her eyes narrow with suspicion, warning him that his silence will have consequences. Ji-hoon knows he can't defeat her, recognizing that no S-rank knight is her equal in close combat. He clenches his fist, deciding that a strategic retreat is his only option for now. He puts on an innocent act, claiming to be just an ordinary citizen who got lost. But his tiny dragon companion pops out with a fierce roar, completely blowing his cover. Lib's expression hardens as she instantly recognizes the creature as a monster. Ji-hoon panics, realizing his companion has appeared at the absolute worst moment. The knight's suspicion turns to certainty, now believing him to be an enemy accomplice. He knows he can't win a direct fight, realizing she'd strike him down before he could even attempt to fly away. He quickly hides behind the knight, claiming to understand the situation, but she questions his strange behavior. Lib steps forward, vowing to protect the innocent citizen from the tiny creature, completely misreading the scene. The baby dragon tilts its head, putting on an innocent and disarming expression. The holy knight's eyes narrow, her expression remaining stern and focused despite the creature's appearance. His companion doubles down on the charm, trying to appear as harmless as possible with a sparkly-eyed look. The tiny dragon lets out a soft roar, causing the knight to tremble as Ji-hoon analyzes her unexpectedly soft personality. Suddenly, a massive explosion erupts from the city's outer wall, signaling a major turn in the battle. The knight gasps in shock at the distant chaos, giving Ji-hoon the perfect opportunity to slip away. Back on the wall, as reckless attack sends his own soldiers flying, drawing cries of outrage. Lib turns around to find the alley empty, realizing with confusion that her charge has vanished. A soldier rushes to her side, relieved to have finally found the holy knight. Her expression hardens as she realizes the main gate is the source of the commotion. A powerful impact rocks the main gate, which groans under immense pressure from the outside. The soldiers defending the gate stare in horror, completely unnerved by the force of the attack. Crack spider web across the wood, a clear sign the gate won't hold for much longer. Arriving on the wall, Lib commands the soldiers to prepare for close quarters combat as they call out her name with renewed hope. Below, a relentless tide of goblins crashes against the fortifications, met by a hail of arrows. A massive goblin brute rears back, preparing to deliver the final gate-shattering blow with its spiked club. The holy knight and her troops can only watch as the gate finally begins to give way. Her soldiers grip their swords tightly, their faces pale with fear as they await the coming onslaught. With one final thunderous blow, the goblin-spiked club shatters the main gate. Lib raises her glowing sword, commanding her soldiers to stand their ground against the coming tide. The goblin brute roars in victory, leading the charge through the splintered remains of the gate. But just as the horde pours in, a massive wave of energy cuts a path through their ranks. From the walls above, the Zodiac Knight surveys the battle, annoyed that his intervention was even necessary. Lib stares in disbelief, shocked to see the reckless commander has finally shown up. Az's face twists with rage, furious that his soldiers allowed the gate to be breached. He internally condemns his troops, branding them all as useless fools. Without warning, he unleashes his devastating flame wall skill directly into the city square. The invading goblins are instantly engulfed in a raging inferno, their advance brought to a fiery halt. The Zodiac Knight smirks, reveling in the fiery chaos is unleashed upon the battlefield. From a safe distance, Ji-hoon watches the tide of battle turn, his expression unreadable. He recalls his past victories, confident in his knowledge as the only player to ever clear 100 waves. But now his objective is reversed. He must lead the destruction of the human faction within that same time frame. His tiny dragon companion looks up at him, its innocent eyes unaware of their new brutal mission. Petting the small creature, he realizes that winning this game could be the key to rewriting his own tragic history. As a single drop of rain falls, the tiny dragon looks up, sensing the change in atmosphere. Ji-hoon holds his companion close, making a silent vow to see their mission through to the end. He promises himself that the next time he returns to this city, things will be very different. Meanwhile, the human soldiers celebrate their victory, completely oblivious to the true enemy that just slipped away. The Holy Knight vows that their next meeting will be their last. He ventures into a dark forest, unaware of the monstrous shadow watching him. Looking back, he reflects on how far he's come from the human capital. He arrives at the eerie entrance to the monster faction's territory. He realizes this hidden route is an entirely new game he's never played before. He recalls his countless resets, giving him perfect knowledge of the kingdom's defenses. But now all his old strategies are useless. He's starting from scratch in enemy lands. Standing on a cliff's edge, he suddenly remembers a crucial detail he's overlooked. He turns his attention to his tiny dragon companion, Rizzledrak. But the little dragon drifts away from him, its stomach rumbling loudly. His eyes widen as he realizes his legendary dragon needs to eat just like any other creature. The little dragon's hunger leads it to a colony of tiny ants, which it eyes with intense curiosity. The ants drop their pebbles in shock, startled by the sudden appearance of the massive predator. One of the ants freezes in absolute terror, sweating profusely at the sight of the tiny dragon. Ji-hoon watches the scene unfold, amused by how much his dragon's predatory focus reminds him of a cat. He sits down to strategize, wondering how to proceed now that he's in uncharted territory. Just as he predicted, a new quest window materializes, offering him his next objective. The system tasks him with establishing a monster faction, promising a random skill as a reward. He considers the challenge, wondering if he's meant to personally recruit monsters to his cause. His thoughts turn to the weakest early game monsters, anticipating the imminent arrival of goblins. He questions the lack of monsters, wondering how he's supposed to recruit an army he can't even speak to. Suddenly, a dark shadowy blur darts through the undergrowth, moving with incredible speed. Ji-hoon whips around, his senses screaming as the unseen threat closes in on him. A shadowy tendril lashes out with lethal intent, sending him stumbling backward in shock. His eyes widen in terror as the monstrous appendage rushes directly toward his face. The tendril ensnares him, lifting him effortlessly into the air as he struggles against its grip. He slammed violently into the ground, the impact kicking up a cloud of dust and debris. Dazed and wounded, he squints up at his attacker, bracing for the inevitable final blow. But just as the attack is about to end him, a mysterious hand intercepts it, stopping the assault cold. His eyes dart to the side, his shock turning to utter disbelief as he recognizes his unexpected savior. He struggles to identify his savior, recognizing only her flowing white hair. His rescuer is revealed to be a fierce beastkin woman with sharp claws and piercing blue eyes. Ji-hoon stares in confusion, mistakenly identifying the powerful warrior as a rabbit. An angry mark appears on her head, clearly offended by his poor choice of words. She furiously gets in his face, insisting she's a fox while he tries to clarify his comment. The beastkin continues her tirade, pointing to her ears as he calmly tries to identify her species. He thoughtfully strokes his chin, analyzing her features as she stands with an impatient huff. A look of sudden realization crosses his face as he finally connects the dots. He correctly identifies her as an Arctic fox, earning a subtle but pleased reaction. Suddenly, he's surrounded by 3 identical copies of her, leaving him completely flustered. The beastkin eyes him suspiciously, noting that while he looks human, he smells like a monster. Ji-hoon is taken aback, questioning what she means by her strange observation. A system window suddenly appears, announcing the permanent activation of 2 new passive skills. He learns he's gained the ability to communicate with monsters and instinctively attract their favor. Ji-hoon has a moment of clarity, but the fox girl just thinks he's muttering to himself again. She points an accusatory finger, her patience finally snapping as she demands to know his identity. The beastkin gets right in his face, her expression furious as she presses for an answer. He's baffled by her aggression, wondering why his likable monster skill isn't working. Ji-hoon realizes with concern that his ability to attract positive attention has completely failed. Suddenly, the shadowy tendril that attacked him is violently intercepted and destroyed. A trio of sinister-looking humans emerges from the forest, one of them gleefully holding a whip. Ji-hoon realizes there are other human factions in this world, wondering if these are bandits. The fox girl's face contorts with anger, now certain that Ji-hoon is just another human hunter. Wounded and trapped, she accuses him of setting the snare that caught her. She glares at him with furious intensity, demanding to know why he's pursuing them. He tries to de-escalate the situation, insisting there's been a terrible misunderstanding. The bandit leader hands off the rope, clearly unimpressed with Ji-hoon's attempts to talk his way out. The rope is suddenly pulled taut, signaling the end of their conversation. Ji-hoon watches in horror as the fox girl is violently yanked into the air by her leg. The muscular bandit pulls on the rope with a brutal grin, dragging his captive toward them. The beastkin warrior struggles fiercely against her bonds, her leg caught tight in the hunter's rope. Ji-hoon watches the brutal scene unfold, his expression a mixture of shock and helplessness. As she's pulled closer, the muscular bandit lands a heavy blow, determined to break her spirit. The brute smirks with cruel satisfaction, believing his captive is now completely subdued. His eyes narrow with malice, revealing the sheer viciousness of these human hunters. But the fox girl glares back with pure defiance, her fighting spirit far from extinguished. In a flash of movement, she unleashes a powerful counter kick, catching her captor completely off guard. The bandit's smug expression shatters, replaced by pure shock as the blow connects with his face. Using the rope to her advantage, she flips through the air and slams her heel down with crushing force. While one bandit reels in shock, their calm leader simply observes the unexpected turn of events. Ji-hoon watches in disbelief as the beastkin warrior fells her massive captor with a single powerful kick. The remaining bandit seethes with rage, looming over the downed fox girl and her unconscious comrade. He furiously condemns her for daring to strike a human, his voice filled with indignation. The enraged hunter moves to subdue her by force, demanding she stop resisting. As Ji-hoon observes the brutal scene, he feels a growing sense of unease about the hunter's actions. Pinned to the ground, the fox girl glares with defiance, refusing to submit to her human captors. Ji-hoon clenches his fist, confused by his own rising anger over the fate of a monster. The bandit leader calmly approaches Ji-hoon, checking to see if he's unharmed after the scuffle. He warns Ji-hoon about the dangers of the forest, noting the presence of other beastkin in the area. The leader's friendly demeanor shifts as he pointedly asks why Ji-hoon is traveling through such a dangerous place alone. The hunter looms over the downed fox girl, annoyed that she hasn't been subdued. He raises his club in a rage, ready to strike the defiant captive once more. Ji-hoon's eyes narrow, a dangerous purple light reflecting his growing anger. The bandit leader calmly tells his subordinate to stop, warning him that he's going too far. The subordinate freezes mid-swing, offering a flustered apology for losing his control. Ji-hoon sighs in relief as the leader casually remarks on his men's intense nature. But the leader's expression turns sinister, suddenly questioning Ji-hoon's ability to talk to the monster. In a flash, he pulls a knife on Ji-hoon, his friendly demeanor completely vanishing. The leader explains that someone with his unique ability would have made their hunt much easier. A bloodstained knife clatters to the ground, signaling the violent end of their conversation. Ji-hoon clutches his chest in agony, demanding to know what the hunter meant. The fox girl turns in surprise, watching the sudden betrayal unfold. He grits his teeth as a burning sensation spreads through his body, realizing he's been poisoned. The bandit leader calmly explains he avoided any vital spots, leaving Ji-hoon to suffer. As he coughs up blood, the leader informs him the poison will be fatal in just 12 hours. The hunter reveals the antidote, offering it in exchange for a translation from their captive. One of the brutes roughly grabs the fox girl, forcing her into cooperation. The leader reveals their true objective, to find the location of the beastkin's home. The fox girl glares with furious defiance, confirming they are searching for the den of foxes. Ji-hoon realizes with dawning horror that he's being blackmailed into betraying the very monsters he's supposed to lead. Far from the confrontation, his tiny dragon companion sits alone, oblivious to the unfolding drama. Ji-hoon repeats the hunter's words, his mind racing to understand their true intentions. The leader lays out the deal: betray the beastkin and receive the antidote or die from the poison. Clutching his wound, Ji-hoon demands to know why they are so desperate to find the village. The captive fox girl begs him not to cooperate, warning that it would mean doom for her people. In a desperate act of defiance, she opens her mouth preparing to take a fatal action. Ji-hoon's eyes widen in horror as he realizes she intends to end her own life to protect her secrets. The brute forcefully clamps her jaw shut, preventing her final desperate act. He stares down in shock, understanding the length she would go to just to protect her home. The hunter scoffs at her fierce resistance, tightening his grip on the defiant warrior. The hunter complains that their captives never survive long enough to be useful. This makes their goal of finding the hidden fox den seem completely impossible. He resorts to violence, striking the captive warrior to break her will. Despite the brutal treatment, the fox girl's defiant spirit remains unbroken. The leader callously notes her resistance, concluding that the beastkin have no fear of death. He orders his men to stand guard, wary that more of her kind might be nearby. Ji-hoon realizes the beastkin are far from simple animals, possessing a keen sense for danger. The leader presents his ultimatum: translate for them and lead them to the den. His expression darkens as he demands to know what thing they are so desperate to find. The hunter reveals they are on a recovery mission, promising to spare both him and the captive if he helps them find it. The hunter's ultimatum triggers a painful memory, reminding Ji-hoon of a familiar look. He recalls a girl from his past, her face a mask of false sincerity as she promised to repay a debt. He remembers the sting of her lies, but a grim realization dawns on him from his past. His history taught him that people's motives don't matter as long as he gets what he needs. He was just a tool, protected from bullies only because he was a convenient source of money. The lesson was brutal and clear. His survival has always depended on his usefulness to others. Back in the present, clutching his poisoned wound, he applies this cold logic to his current crisis. He steels his resolve, refusing to let his story end in this desolate forest. Turning to the captive beastkin, he reluctantly relays the hunter's demand to be led to her village. The fox girl's head hangs in defeat as he tries to convince her that cooperation is the only way to ensure their survival. The bandits are stunned, realizing their leader correctly suspected Ji-hoon's ability to communicate with monsters. The fox girl admits he feels different from other humans, revealing that her village is home to over 100 beastkin. She looks up with a flicker of hope, questioning if she can truly trust his words. Blooded and cornered, Ji-hoon sweats under the immense pressure of the life or death negotiation. He makes a shocking declaration, insisting that he is not aligned with the human faction. Clutching his poisoned wound, he attempts to build an alliance by painting the hunters as the true villains. His eyes widen with conviction as he commits fully to his dangerous deception. As the hunter dangles the antidote, Rizzle suddenly appears on his head, its eyes glowing with rage. The tiny dragon unleashes a furious roar, its energy flaring as the startled hunter demands to know why the translation stopped. Ji-hoon is completely flustered, caught off guard by his companion's ill-timed protective outburst. The tiny dragon's eye becomes a void of pure rage, crackling with destructive red energy. The hunter leader notices the creature's sudden shift in attitude as Ji-hoon panics. His subordinate points in terror, finally spotting the menacing monster floating in the air. Rizzle gathers power, its jaw trembling as it prepares to unleash a devastating attack. The captive fox girl screams a warning, urging the hunter to dodge the incoming blast. But Ji-hoon knows it's already too late, his expression grim as the scene unfolds. The dragon unleashes its breath attack, a terrifying beam of energy that makes the hunter plead for his life. The bandit's final thoughts are a desperate silent plea for mercy. A searing red laser erupts from the tiny dragon, striking the hunter with pinpoint accuracy. In the aftermath, the bandit leader is completely gone, leaving his stunned comrades behind. Ji-hoon stares in utter shock, blood dripping from his mouth as he witnesses the instant obliteration. The two remaining bandits are frozen in terror, their faces pale with disbelief at their leader's demise. His tiny dragon lets out a final exhausted roar, its body trembling from the sheer force of its own attack. Ji-hoon grits his teeth, realizing his companion's most powerful skill is now on a long cooldown. The ground where the hunter stood is now a scorched patch of earth, smoke rising from the impact. The muscular bandit sweats profusely, terrified by the raw power that could have easily ended him. His comrade trembles, clutching his weapon as he laments his own unfulfilled life. Enraged, the hunter turns his fury on the tiny dragon, swinging his weapon with lethal intent. Ji-hoon's eyes widen in panic, realizing his exhausted companion is now the target. The tiny dragon is sent hurtling through the air, unable to dodge the swift brutal counterattack. Rizzo lies stunned on the ground, completely incapacitated by the brutal strike. The furious hunter glares at the scorched earth, enraged that the tiny creature dared to attack him. His subordinate suggests capturing the rare monster, seeing a potential profit in their strange find. But Ji-hoon coldly dismisses the idea, his expression unreadable as he makes a difficult choice. The hunter decides to deal with Ji-hoon personally, ordering his men to guard the captives. He scoffs at the downed dragon, furious that a mere monster would challenge a human. Ji-hoon grits his teeth, realizing his survival once again hinges on his unique ability to communicate. A painful memory surfaces, reminding him of a time he was forced to prove his worth to others. He recalls his past, a bitter history of surviving by being useful to those more powerful than him. This grim realization steels his resolve, clarifying the path he must now take. A painful memory flashes through his mind, a time when he was deemed completely useless. He recalls standing at a crossroads knowing the path ahead was fraught with peril. Back in the present, he clenches his blooded fist, determined to never regret losing anything important again. The enraged hunter brings his club down with full force, aiming to finish off the tiny dragon. The captive fox girl watches in disbelief as Ji-hoon suddenly moves to intercept the attack. With a cold glare, he decides that the hunter is the one who has outlived his usefulness. In that critical moment, a system window announces the permanent activation of a new passive skill. He gains the physical monster ability, granting him strength far beyond any human. The hunter's eyes widen in utter disbelief as his powerful swing is stopped dead in its tracks. Ji-hoon effortlessly catches the club with one hand, the impact shattering the ground as the antidote falls. The fox girl stares in wide-eyed disbelief, her jaw agape at the impossible display of strength. His remaining subordinates are frozen in terror, sweating as they realize the tables have completely turned. With a final brutal motion, Ji-hoon sends the hunter crashing to the ground, leaving him unconscious. He stands over his fallen foe, his expression cold and his hand stained, now the dominant force in the clearing. The last hunter panics and flees into the forest, leaving behind the shattered antidote bottle. The beastkin watches him go, confused by how he can move so powerfully after being fatally poisoned. Her expression shifts from shock to intense curiosity, realizing he is unlike any human she has ever met. His immediate concern turns to his injured companion, kneeling to gently scoop up the tiny dragon. He holds Rizal close, overcome with guilt that the little creature was harmed while protecting him. Despite its injuries, the tiny dragon nuzzles him affectionately, its loyalty unwavering. He looks at his companion, reminded of a loyal friend from his past. He recalls his cat, a constant source of strength and comfort in his lonely life. He remembers how the cat was his only companion through years of isolated gaming. The tiny dragon looks up, and he vows to protect his new friend. With a determined smile, he promises to keep the small creature safe no matter the cost. His moment of reflection is shattered by the enraged shout of the remaining hunter. The hunter threatens him with retribution from their leader, unaware he's already been dealt with. Ji-hoon's expression turns cold, completely unfazed by the empty threats. The hunter's bravado crumbles into fear, realizing the man before him is no ordinary opponent. Terrified, the last hunter grabs the fox girl and flees into the woods, leaving a final hollow threat. The tiny dragon lets out a defiant roar, refusing to back down. Ji-hoon stumbles, the poison finally overwhelming his enhanced body. He collapses to the ground as the fox girl watches in stunned silence. Her expression shifts to one of deep concern, realizing the gravity of his condition. His tiny dragon companion frantically tries to wake him, its worry multiplying with each passing moment. As his vision fades, Ji-hoon questions if this is truly the end of his journey. His companion looks on in terror, fearing what will happen if its master doesn't survive. His mind flashes back to a painful memory of sitting by his mother's hospital bed. A deep burning resentment fills his thoughts as he remembers the cause of his past suffering. He recalls his younger self, clenching his fist in helpless anger at his family's fate. He recalls the bitter memory of someone who failed to appear when needed most. His eyes flutter open, the darkness of his past giving way to a dim light. He finds himself in a strange torchlit cave completely disoriented. The fox girl supports his weak body, questioning why he would risk his life for her. She carries him through the dark cavern, determined to get him to safety. They arrive at a hidden village where her return with a human causes an immediate stir. A crowd of beastkin gathers, their long ears twitching with curiosity at the sight of the stranger. The villagers whisper amongst themselves, noting that while he looks human, they feel an unexplainable pull toward him. Lying in a hut, he's watched over by curious villagers who wonder when the now-cured man will awaken. He's actually been awake the whole time but is too flustered by his audience to move a muscle. The fox girl asks the curious villagers to give their guests some room to breathe. From behind a door, a voice questions the story of a human saving one of their own. He recognizes the voice, a flicker of awareness crossing his face. The fox girl calls him out, knowing he's been pretending to be asleep this whole time. She explains that while he appears human, he lacks the scent they associate with them. This unique trait makes him an anomaly, blurring the lines of his identity in their eyes. He examines his hands, suddenly realizing the fatal poison has completely vanished from his system. She casually reveals the village had an antidote, much to his surprise. His expression turns serious as a troubling thought crosses his mind. He remembers her desperate defiance, realizing she would never have led the hunters to her home even to save him. He recalls her showing her fangs, ready to make the ultimate sacrifice to protect her secrets. Ji-hoon questions why she would save him when she was so willing to end her own life just moments before. She turns away explaining that it's because while he is human, he lacks the threatening scent they associate with his kind, making him an anomaly. Her expression softens as she admits there was another more important reason for her actions. She flashes back to the moment she saw him cradling his injured companion with genuine care. It was his selfless compassion for another creature that truly convinced her to help him. He strokes his chin, realizing that his likable monster passive skill is finally taking effect. The fox girl suddenly loses her patience, annoyed by his constant muttering after she went to the trouble of saving him. Nearby, his tiny dragon lets out a small roar, now fully recovered and resting among some colorful gems. He offers his sincere gratitude, a simple gesture that carries immense weight. The tiny dragon's eye widens, reacting to its master's emotional state. As he bows deeply, the fox girl insists his formal apology is unnecessary. She clears her throat, flustered, and suggests they call it even since he saved her too. He notices the sound of his companion's cry, a sudden realization dawning on him. The tiny dragon leaps into the air with a joyful cry flying straight toward him. He laughs as the affectionate creature nuzzles him while the fox girl questions its name. She decides it's time for proper introductions, suggesting fate has brought them together. But before she can reveal her name, a messenger bursts in, summoning them to meet the village chief. The scene shifts to the towering cliffs above, hinting at the location of their next meeting. He looks around in awe, realizing he's been brought to the hidden village of the beast folk. She explains their village, Warren, is a sanctuary for all beastkin who have lost their homes. As they walk, a concerned villager asks about her injury, noting her somber mood. A massive bull-like beastkin scolds her for venturing into the dangerous forest alone. The bull warrior watches them leave, his expression filled with unspoken concern. Ji-hoon notes how deeply the entire village seems to care for her well-being. He points out her gloomy demeanor, and she reluctantly agrees he has a point. Her patience finally snaps, and she shouts to get his undivided attention. She furiously demands to know his name, tired of their informal and nameless interactions. The fox girl crosses her arms, annoyed that she still doesn't know the name of the man she saved. Caught off guard by her demand, he finally introduces himself as Ji-hoon. He awkwardly adds his full name, Kim Ji-hoon, wondering if it sounds strange in this world. In return, she reveals her incredibly long name, leaving him utterly bewildered. She clarifies her name is Rhea as a small rabbit-like creature checks on her well-being. Rhea cheerfully confirms her leg is healed while Ji-hoon internally remarks on her unusual name. He realizes her entire mood has lifted, concluding she was just eager for a proper introduction. Ji-hoon looks up thoughtfully, processing the strange turn of events in his new ally. Standing before the village, he connects this place to his main quest of uniting the monster faction. Rhea impatiently waves him over, reminding him they still need to see the village chief. He's left completely baffled, wondering why she insisted on knowing his name only to ignore it. Ji-hoon reluctantly follows Rhea, his mind still on his quest to unite the monster faction. The village chief, an elderly rabbit beastkin, suddenly declares his entrusting the entire village to Ji-hoon. Both Ji-hoon and Rhea are left speechless, utterly floored by the chief's sudden decision. Rhea desperately calls out to the chief, trying to stop him as he begins to walk away. The chief calmly explains he's too old for the job, while Rhea furiously argues that Ji-hoon is a complete stranger. She points out the absurdity of his decision, but the chief ignores her, his mind already made up. As the chief walks off into the distance, Rhea shouts that she will never accept his choice. Ji-hoon watches the dramatic scene unfold, his expression turning serious as he processes the situation. The scene then flashes back, revealing the conversation that led to this moment. The chief explains that he often has prophetic dreams and they have never failed to become reality. The chief's prophetic dream reveals that Ji-hoon alone is destined to save their village from a fiery fate. This prophecy aligns perfectly with his main quest to unite the monsters and build a new faction. He connects the dots, questioning how the chief's words tie into his mission. A grim realization dawns on him. The village is in imminent danger. He recalls the bandit leader's mission to recover a lost item, a detail that now seems critically important. A cold sweat runs down his face as the pieces of the puzzle start falling into place. Returning to the present, he urgently calls out to Rhea, trying to get her attention. He asks a crucial question, worried that the hunters might have followed her back to their sanctuary. Rhea confidently explains that their village, Warren, has remained hidden and undiscovered until now. She begins to explain the secret behind their village's perfect concealment. She explains their village is protected by a steep mountain range and a vast ocean, making it naturally inaccessible. Rhea reveals there is only one secret entrance to their sanctuary without scaling the treacherous peaks. The only way in is through a hidden network of tunnels dug deep into the earth by the rabbit beastkin. This underground labyrinth is so complex that finding the correct path to Warren is nearly impossible for outsiders. Ji-hoon confirms he saw no signs of pursuit, but Rhea's relief is overshadowed by a lingering doubt. A deep sense of unease washes over him as he glances at her still bandaged leg. His eyes widen in horror as he spots a fresh trail of blood leading into the cave system. Elsewhere, the surviving hunter smirks, having successfully tracked the blood trail to the hidden entrance. He emerges from the tunnels, his eyes falling upon the unsuspecting beastkin village below. A sinister look crosses his face as he confirms he has finally located their hidden sanctuary, but a deep sense of unease washes over him as he glances at her still bandaged leg. His eyes widen in horror as he spots a fresh trail of blood leading into the cave system. Elsewhere, the surviving hunter smirks, having successfully tracked the blood trail to the hidden entrance. The villagers cry out in alarm, spotting the human intruder who has just emerged from the tunnels. Panic spreads through the village as they realize a human has successfully infiltrated their hidden sanctuary, Warren. The captured hunter lies on the ground, confused by the beastkin's furious shouts as they surround him. Ji-hoon calmly confronts the hunter, deducing that he followed the blood trail from Rhea's wound. Rhea stares in shock, realizing with guilt that she was tailed the entire time without noticing. The bull-like warrior tries to comfort her, insisting she's not to blame for the intrusion. He reassures the villagers that with the hunter caught, they just need to erase the trail to secure their home once more. The villagers try to comfort a distraught Rhea, assuring her that the intrusion isn't her fault. But Ji-hoon's expression darkens as he realizes a critical detail. 2 of the hunters are still missing. The captured hunter begins to laugh, taunting them with the promise that their entire village will burn. He gleefully reveals his part of a crew so infamous that even the kingdom fears them, led by a boss named Screaming All. The hunter's threat escalates, claiming their boss is already on his way with an army of over 200 men. Ji-hoon's face hardens as he processes the name and the scale of the impending danger. Meanwhile, deep in the caves, the muscular hunter helps his unconscious comrade retreat. The downed hunter begins to awaken, his mind filled with thoughts of his leader. He springs up in a rage, demanding his subordinate avenge him for the earlier humiliation. Suddenly, a new imposing figure appears before them, his horned silhouette casting a menacing shadow. The bruised hunter eagerly volunteers to lead his boss directly to the newly discovered entrance. The imposing bandit leader, Screaming All, calmly praises his subordinate for a job well done. A sinister smile spreads across the leader's face as he confirms they are now heading to the den. The hunter smirks with cruel satisfaction, ready to guide the impending invasion. Back in the village, the captured hunter reveals his infiltration was just one part of a much larger plan. Elsewhere, the 2 escaped hunters flee, one trying to convince his injured comrade to retreat. The injured hunter refuses to stop, his bruised face set with grim determination to finish the job. At the village entrance, Rhea stands guard over the unconscious Ji-hoon, sensing the turning tide. The captured hunter laughs maniacally, declaring that everyone in the village is now doomed. Rhea stares in confusion, completely baffled by the hunter's confident and ominous threat. Rhea calls out to Ji-hoon, her face filled with alarm as he stands with grim resolve. He grimly states the obvious. The bandits know their location and will arrive any minute. The full weight of his words hits Rhea, her expression turning to one of pure terror. Ji-hoon's mind races, realizing he recognizes the name Screaming All from somewhere. His memory flashes back to the game Night Defense, where players fought off monster waves to level up. He recalls that simply grinding levels was never enough to survive the game's endless onslaught. The game had a secondary system to overcome this, involving a feature called Adventurers. Players formed parties of knights to send on missions, clearing stages for special rewards. Completing these stages granted unique items and resources like a bandit's dagger. He remembers the game's world map, which contained 100 stages from Goblin Forest to the final boss's stronghold. He recalls his time playing the game, remembering a specific detail about the final part of Stage 110. The game's map identified the bandits' base as Screaming Owl's hideout, a village hidden behind a rocky hill. While he skipped most of the lore, he remembers the description of a brutal gang led by the notorious bandit. A chilling realization hits him. In all his time playing, he never encountered a stage named Warren. He remembers the game's lore, which foretold the complete and utter destruction of the Beastkin village. The prophecy from his game was clear. This entire sanctuary is fated to be annihilated. Back in the present, the captured hunter smirks, deciding to sow chaos with a tempting offer. He begs the Beastkin to release him, promising that his boss will spare anyone who helps him escape. Ji-hoon watches grimly, knowing that even without understanding the words, the hunter's desperate plea is planting seeds of fear. The hunter's promise of survival begins to poison the hearts and minds of the terrified villagers. The rabbit Beastkin sense the growing unease, their fear palpable as they watch the scene unfold. Rhea is overwhelmed with guilt, believing her mistake has doomed her entire village. Ji-hoon realizes that if nothing changes, the Beastkin are fated to be completely wiped out. The hunter continues to taunt them, revealing the bandits' plan to seize Warren for themselves. A dark resolve settles over Ji-hoon's face as he refuses to let that grim future come to pass. The hunter's taunts continue, trying to break the villager's spirit as Ji-hoon walks toward him. Ji-hoon looms over the captive, declaring that Warren will instead become the heart of his new monster faction. He clenches his fist, his decision made, and his course of action set. He's not just saving the village, he's claiming it as his own faction's stronghold. With a single decisive motion, he silences the hunter's threats for good. The hunter's life ends in a blur of shock and finality. The bull warrior breaks into a cold sweat, completely stunned by the sudden turn of events. The rabbit villagers recoil in absolute terror, their faces frozen in a collective gasp. Rhea covers her mouth in shock, her wide eyes fixed on the man who just took a life. He stands over the fallen hunter, his posture conveying he's tired of empty words. With a look of grim determination, he announces their only option is to fight. Inspired by his resolve, Rhea hardens her expression, vowing to protect their home. But another voice immediately dismisses their resolve, calling the idea of a fight impossible. The bull warrior steps forward, urging them to face the reality of their situation. He reveals the village's grim truth. It's a sanctuary for the weak filled with non-combatants. The bull warrior scoffs at their hopeless odds while Rhea makes a desperate appeal to the chief's wisdom. The chief gathers the entire village, preparing to make a formal and shocking announcement. He then officially declares the stunned Ji-hoon as the new leader of Warren. At the same time, the sound of marching feet signals the bandits' relentless approach. The notorious bandit leader, All, is guided by his subordinate directly to the village entrance. The leader surveys the hidden sanctuary and declares his intention to seize it for his gain. With a cruel smile, he rallies his men, ready to claim their new base of operations. The massive bandit army charges forward, a wave of violence ready to crash upon the village. Back in Warren, the bull warrior grimly assesses their odds, estimating the enemy force at 200 strong. He then reveals their own fighting force is pitifully small, consisting of only 3 bull beastkin. He continues the count, adding 2 anxious-looking deer beastkin to their meager forces. Next, he points out 5 sheep beastkin who clench their fists nervously. The final warrior is Rhea herself, standing resolutely as the last of the non-bullfighters. The bull warrior finishes his tally, revealing a grand total of 112 fighters, including the rabbit beastkin. Ji-hoon grimly calculates they are facing an enemy force nearly double their own size, but he knows from experience that this isn't a simple numbers game. Individual power is the true deciding factor. He recalls Rhea's surprising strength, taking down a bandit in a single decisive blow. Ji-hoon speculates that while she was overwhelmed, her power level is clearly significant. A sudden realization dawns on him as he reconsiders the claim that these beastkin have never fought. He realizes they may have a hidden power, a transformation that could even the odds. He clenches his fist, hoping that if the others are as strong as Rhea, they might just have a chance. To confirm his theory, he approaches the bull warrior, Ta, to ask how Rhea's strength ranks among the villagers. Ta thoughtfully considers the question while Ji-hoon waits with hopeful anticipation. As Ta begins to answer, Rhea playfully interacts with the tiny dragon in the background. Ji-hoon's optimism shatters as Ta reveals that Rhea is, in fact, the single strongest warrior in the entire village. The bull warrior continues explaining that even if every other villager attacked her at once, Rhea would still emerge as the undisputed victor, a fact that leaves Ji-hoon stunned. His expression darkens as he realizes the devastating truth behind Ta's words. The grim conclusion hits him. If Rhea is the strongest, then the rest of their fighters are completely outmatched. Alright, that's the end of the story. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one.